To move on to the next part, I wanted to talk about, you know, when we're choosing gear to protect ourselves, to protect our body, how do you choose gear for off-road? So I wanted to go, you know, for off-road and on-road riding. So I wanted to go through the options that you have, and one of the ones that I started out doing, you know, you have your summer street jacket that's you know, 100 or 200 bucks, and you just use that off-road because the airflow is fairly decent. It's got impact protection in here, and so when you're buying gear, the two major things that you're going to find that it's going to protect you from is abrasion. So that's the slide when you fall down, and then you have impact. Right. So you should be wearing CE rated gear, and what that means is that these things inside of here, they have been tested to reduce the impact to your body a certain number, you know, a certain rating, right? And I don't have those. I don't know those, but you have a CE level 1 that reduces the impact a certain amount, and then you have a CE level 2 which reduces the impact more, which is more protection. So when you're riding off-road, you're going to need quite a bit of impact protection because you tend to hit things sometimes. Right. And then when you're riding on the road, you need to be very, very conscious of your slide protection. So you know, we went through the first option, your summer jacket that you're just going to throw on. You're going to ride off-road. It's not ideal, but it is one of the cheaper options that you're going to find. Yeah. And so I did that for a long time. And I was more or less happy with it until I got stuck in a riverbed, and it was extremely hot down in the south, and I almost had a heat stroke trying to drag my bike over stuff, and my bike did overheat. So yeah, it was terrible. It was horrible. And so I went to some lighter gear. You know, one of the rules for, you know, across motorcycle gear when you're riding off-road, the two things that matter so much more, one is airflow, and the other is weight, because you're exerting yourself so much more and you're moving way more slowly. So there's not that much air going over you. So those two things you notice so much, and we'll keep coming back to that. Now let's talk about the motocross gear. I don't have any of it here because I didn't buy it, but I see a lot of your guys wearing those off-road jacket things with the armor, all in one piece. You just put it on. You've got your back protection, you got your front protection, you've got your elbows and everything all in one thing. And that's pretty cool stuff. What I run a combination. So in the front here, I have a Thor Guardian roost protector. It is CE rated front and back. And let me tell you, like, this thing has earned its keep. Big time. So you were actually riding behind me the one time I was riding, and we were on a concrete road, and there were some bushes that were hanging down in the road, and I just thought they were just bushes, and so I just was going to just blast right through them. And inside of the bushes was a piece of bamboo, and I slammed straight into it. I took it right on the chest, and boy, it hurt. But it didn't hurt me in any way. And I can only imagine if I was wearing, you know, conventional street gear, that I would have a broken rib, and you know, I'd be off my bike for sure. I would not want to know what would happen. So having that plastic chest protector in the front for off-road is really nice. I Supermaned over the front one time. I was going through the trees, and my front end slipped, and my bar caught a tree, and so the front end turned sideways, and then you just Superman right over the front, right? And I slid on my chest, and I just got up. Everything was good. I really think that having good chest and back protection is really important. Yeah, and going back to this gear, it's designed to protect you against abrasion and impact. And I think the plastic gear has the ability to protect against abrasion, whereas some of the softer gear that we're going to look at doesn't really. So then underneath, I wear Leatt Airflex, and I've done a full review on those. And they're D3O armor. If you look it up online, it's soft in your hands to touch. It's very soft, very comfortable. But when you encounter impact, the molecules, they harden up, and they provide quite a lot of impact protection. It's really amazing technology. It is very comfortable. You don't even know you're wearing it. Airflow is excellent. But if you look online, you'll notice that a lot of them have the plastic covering, which is, it's going to give you more protection, but it's not going to be as comfortable to wear. And I had an incident where I was riding in a riverbed. There was a piece of metal sticking up that I didn't see. It went through my motocross pants and then went into my leg, and I still have a scar here on my leg from it. And it tore a pretty decent hole in my leg. And so basically it went through the edge of this this knee protector, where it's just cloth, basically. And I don't know if it glanced off this part and then found a little hole. It was such a point. It just kind of like found its way through my gear, right?
Always like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I can't say that if I was wearing the plastic knee guards, the plastic shin guards, if I would just have ridden off. You know, maybe not. It's really hard to say. But then over the top of this, I wear motocross gear. And there are pros and cons to motocross gear. So first of all, one of the huge advantages is how lightweight it is. So your jersey, I stayed away from these for a long time because I was doing a lot of street riding, and they're not designed to take abrasion on pavement. If you go down on this, it's not really going to do very much. It protects you from branches. If you go down on the dirt, it holds up pretty well. But if you're sliding down the road at 80 kilometers an hour or whatever, it's not going to last very long at all. So if you're doing a lot of road riding, you want to stay away from this. But they're cheap, they're replaceable, they go over the top of your gear, and they offer lots of airflow.
Some are not that cheap though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why, like, you don't want to buy these really expensive jerseys and then go road riding.
Yeah.
You know, it's because they rip in a millisecond, you know,
Yeah.
and then you can chuck that thing. You know, so
Yeah.
it's not fun.
Yeah. So the pants, they offer quite a bit more abrasion resistance than the jersey does. You can feel the type of material that it is. It's still not up to road standards. It's still not designed to take a road fall, but it is pretty decent. I felt safe riding in motocross pants and a summer jacket on the road. I did that for a long time. I did not go down on the road wearing it, but you know, it offers good airflow. You know, and so that's kind of the different levels of gear that you can choose. I really believe that if you're riding off-road, that off-road gear offers the best protection to the types of falls that you're likely to find, the things that you're likely to run into, and things of that nature. But it really falls short on the road.
Well, but again, it's off-road gear.
Yeah.
Right. So that's simple. You know, it's like if you want to go on-road riding, you can buy on-road gear. That's simple. Now that's also a little bit of difference between, let's say, adventure riding gear and proper off-road riding gear. Right. Like we said about the car, it's a dual-purpose gear. So it means you're gonna spend a lot of time off-road. You know, and basically almost all the time off-road, you know, and various off-road terrains, you know, from light to really technical and hardcore terrains, right? But adventure riding also includes on-road riding. It includes a lot of tarmac as well, right? So that's why, for example, some of the gear, it is heavier because it has heavier materials on for better protection, right? So you have to be very clear what you want to do, right? If you don't know how much off-road riding you want to do and how much the ratio is going to be on and off-road, then, you know, what you did is in the very beginning is what you should start with. You know, use your normal gear, and go off-road riding until you realize, you know, okay, I need this and this and this, preferably before you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Because recently I've been watching some MX videos as well. Latest one was from Rhino, I forgot his proper name, but like a Supercross champion back in the days, and he also has you know, trainings, everything. And it was really interesting because he does not like knee braces and he does not like neck braces, right? Because according to him, they restrict you from a fluent movement, actually doing the proper body positioning and everything, right? Because of safety, the safety factor, it restricts you, right?
Yeah.
Which is an interesting point, you know, because we had there was this one training last year, at the end of last year, and that particular rider, he had a neck brace, carbon, right, like really expensive. And he dropped his bike. Nothing happened to him or the bike, you know, was just, you know, just went around the corner and dropped his bike. And the reason was because he couldn't turn his head. And he was like, when he would try to turn his head, it would just, you know, restrict him, right? And so he took it off, which is absolutely okay, right? Nothing happened to him during the training. Everything was fine. But this is one thing really interesting because I've heard that and seen that also from other riders who bought 2-3 different neck braces, for example, and then finally found, okay, this combination works well. So there's this interesting part when it comes to safety gear is, does it really keep you safe, or does it cause you to crash? And obviously, if you buy safety gear and it causes you to crash, well, that's not the point of it, right? So this is something really interesting because there is no such thing as enough safety. You know, like if,
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about, you know, the airbag thing, whatever, you know. But I just admitted, number one is the price tag. That you know, I don't have the money for that yet. Number two, I think it can evolve a little more. You know, get a little better. But yeah. But sometimes it is really that question. Okay, do I like, does that safety factor, you know, does that influence my mobility? Does it influence my comfort? You know, so in a second we're going to talk about boots, and there's also a difference between ADV boots and motocross boots, for example, or even enduro boots, right? I forgot to bring mine though, but we're going to talk about that in a second as well. So this is really an interesting point, you know, like you said, off-road gear is off-road gear, right? If you wear that going on-road riding and you crash, yeah, it's not going to protect you, you know. So it's very, very important to know what you want to do.
Yeah, and I think a legitimate strategy for off-road would be to carry a jersey and carry a summer jacket, and you know, throw the jacket on when you're transiting, and then you get to the off-road, take the jacket off. A lot of your guys just wear the motocross armor without anything over the top of it, which is also fine, as long as you're riding off-road.
Right.
And they do offer some slide protection. The plastic elbow pieces and things like that do offer some. I don't know how well it's all going to hold together because it's all held together by mesh. And so when you go down and you hit the road, I don't know if the mesh is going to rip apart.
On road it will. Definitely.
Yeah.
Off-road depends, but my guys, they mostly wear that for trainings.
Yeah.
Or if we like summer here with no shades, whatever, you know, but we're gonna stay in one area.
Yeah.
That's all off-road. That's when they wear their, let's say, motocross gear.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as we go into the mountains, we do some, you know, adventure riding, like riding there and off-road riding and everything. They all wear their adventure gear.
Yeah.
Right? Safety is one thing. The other thing is, like you mentioned, it's just, you know, temperature. Right?
Yeah.
You start out with you know, 20 plus, and then you get into the mountains, it gets really cold, you know, and MX gear is not built for that. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like if it's for training where it's really low speeds, you know, no wind, like you'll die in that.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't need this anyways, right? So yeah, in that terrain, the mesh most of the time will hold and give you enough protection, right? On road, definitely not.
Yeah. And talking about temperature too, I layer, right? So I have multiple layers of of synthetics that will go close to my skin, that will be underneath the gear, and then I will have like a fleece over that, and then my jersey, and then the chest protector, and then I'll throw a shell if I need to block the wind. Because sometimes I start my rides, and you don't think Taiwan is cold, but I start my rides sometimes like 5:30 in the morning, and it can be up in the mountains where I am. It can be below 5 degrees, and that's cold. That is cold. My fingers are, you know, quite cold, but I know it's going to warm up. I know it's going to hit, you know, 10, 15 degrees, and I'm going to warm up. Once I get and I start struggling in the single track and stuff, I'm going to warm up, and then I'm going to take those layers off because they're all there, and I can throw them in my pack and then keep on going. And so that's why I like motocross gear, because I can do that. I can layer